Hello everybody and a very good morning to you. Welcome to our webinar putting a spotlight on sustainability and an overview on mandatory new European Commission regulations coming into effect on September the 1st this year, which will have significant consequences for the lighting industry and its retailers. A brand new version of the widely recognised EU energy label will be applicable in all shops and online retailers for light bulbs and lamps with fixed light sources to help EU consumers cut their energy bills and their carbon footprint. These extensive new regulations are the result of nearly 5 years of negotiations, and it will be mandatory for all manufacturers and retailers to comply. This informative webinar will bring clarity on exactly what this new legislation entails, what timelines are in place, and how the industry and its retailers can become compliant. This morning, we're delighted to welcome Minister Pippa Hackett, SEAI Programme Manager Tim Stokes, and Elizabeth O'Reilly. She's the Environmental Compliance and Membership Manager for We Ireland. And finally, we'll have Helen O'Dwyer from Solas Light Bulbs here with us in studio. And we're going to be with you this morning until about midday. First up, Minister Pippa Hackett, who's Senator and Minister of State for Land Use and Biodiversity, who was honoured to be a Member of Cabinet to have approved the Climate Action Bill in March of this year. The bill commits to pursuing and achieving climate neutrality by 2050 and sets a target of a 51% reduction in emissions by 2030. I'm delighted to hand over to Minister Hackett to give us some insight into this and how it relates to our conversation here today.
Hello. We are in a time of transition to tackle climate change and create a new green economy. It's important that this change happens at a political level, at a corporate level, and at a consumer level. Politically, Ireland is taking a lead on this, and the Climate Action Bill is making its way through the Oireachtas at the moment. This is an ambitious bill, but we are to secure a sustainable future, we need to be ambitious. By taking a lead on climate action on the international stage, we will be a step ahead in the green economy. And as US President Joe Biden remarked at the Leaders' Summit on climate change recently, those that take action and make bold investments in their people and a clean energy future will win the good jobs of tomorrow and make their economies more resilient and more competitive. Ireland's new climate action plan will be the roadmap for how we reach these ambitious targets, and we must bring everyone with us on this journey to net zero. The EU energy labelling regulation is a prime example of change being made at a political level and being adopted by business. This brings about the system change necessary, ultimately making it easier for consumers to use less energy. For that reason, your information campaign is very welcome, and your Planet First initiative is a great measure of corporate social responsibility. We're all familiar with the A+ and the A++ style rating system, but it's becoming a little crowded at the top. So we will see a restructuring of the A to G system, which will see fewer A-rated products initially, but it will leave that space at the upper level of labelling for advancing technologies. And I find it encouraging to think that increasingly efficient products are on their way. I see that there will be a QR code on all energy labels, giving the consumer more product information. And this too will ease the transition to lower energy use. Light bulbs, of course, were one of the first consumer items to create awareness on how much energy we consume. We knew early on that switching from incandescent light bulbs to LED meant paying a little more, but having a longer lasting product that uses less energy and ultimately saved us money. This simple but essential light bulb moment, if you like, focused our attention on energy efficiency. Finally, I'd like to say a word about the circular economy, because the new regulations are not simply about labelling. The manufacturing of all lamps will, from the 1st of September, be subject to regulations that require that they are designed to be recycled. Again, Ireland is taking leadership in recycling and waste management. Our Waste Action Plan for a Circular Economy was launched by my colleague Minister Eamon Ryan last September. It includes applying green criteria and circular economy principles in all public procurement. Again, it's important that we, in politics and public administration, lead by example. This policy requires us to move beyond a position of merely managing waste to where we question our use of resources and materials, reconsider project design to reduce waste generation, and extend the productive life of goods and products that we use. We are doing this at a political level, both in the EU and in the Oireachtas, and you are doing it at a production level. Together, we can help the consumer to adapt, and together we can make the impact necessary for the green future that lies ahead. Thank you.
Minister Pippa Hackett, thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Next, we're going to get right into the heart of the matter. I'm delighted to welcome Tim Stokes, Programme Manager and Market Surveillance at Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, the SEAI, to give a detailed description of what this new legislation entails, what timelines are in place, and how the industry and its retailers can be compliant.
Hello, my name's Tim Stokes and I'm Programme Manager for Market Surveillance at Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. And today I want to talk to you about the important changes that are taking place to energy labelling and the rescaling of labels in the particular context of light sources. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the new energy label, the key timelines for the implementation of that label, online and advertising requirements, SEAI's energy labelling market surveillance that we carry out in order to check compliance with those regulations. So one of the first things to note in relation to the energy label is the fact that the energy labelling scheme has been so successful that it has encouraged a huge amount of innovation, and it means that products that you buy now are much more energy efficient than they would have been in the 1990s when the scheme first came into existence. But that success has actually created a problem. And the problem is that the majority of products are now situated in the top 3 energy efficiency classes. So for given the example here of a household refrigerating appliance, many of them will be A++ or A+++. And that can make it quite confusing for consumers to actually understand the differences between various different labels. And it also prevents manufacturers from being particularly interested in innovating if there's no further to go up on the scale. Also, one of the problems you can get is that, say, again, with the household refrigerating appliance label, that an A might sound good to a householder, but actually A would be the lowest on the scale that's possible under the regulations for the household refrigerating appliance label. So what they've done, the Commission's done, is it's introduced a simple A to G scale, which is a label on the right-hand side here, for all the labels that are going to be rescaled. It also features a QR code, and you can use that to go to the EU product database and get more information on the energy efficiency of the product. And they've also recalibrated the scale. That's a really important thing, because what that means is that products which were previously, say, for example, an A+++, may well now only be a D or even an E. And that allows space for manufacturers to start innovating and to produce ever more energy efficient products. So initially, not all products are going to be rescaled. It's going to be phased in over a period of time. And the first products which have already been rescaled with effect from the 1st of March this year are washing machines, washer dryers, dishwashers, household refrigerating appliances, and electronic displays. The new label for light sources actually comes into effect from the 1st of September 2021. And as you see here, actually the label hasn't really changed hugely on the surface. The scale's been changed from A++ to E through to A to G, as I mentioned, is the QR code. But otherwise it's little difference. But the big difference that's taken place is the recalibration of the scale. So now you'll find many more products which are going to be lower down that scale than was the case previously. On the right-hand side there's also the black and white version which you're allowed to use as well. Another important change is to the terminology used. We now use the terminology light sources in the new regulation, and that's to reflect the massive change which has been brought about by LEDs. It means now that lighting is no longer necessarily having to be produced by a bulb or tube. It can be produced very flexibly for a number of different ways. So they now call it a light source, and a brief definition of that is an electrically operated product intended to emit light. So something like a light bulb, to use a non-technical term, or a lamp, or an LED module. And there are others. Another important thing to consider in relation to energy labelling requirements is the removability of the light source, and that impacts on whether or not the label is required, or where the label is required. So here's two examples of a couple of reading lights, and on the left-hand side here, we have one with a removable LED. Now, where you have a removable LED, that is the light source itself. So that is the thing which has to be energy labelled. And if you're selling that in a pack, you'd have to include the energy label within that. On the right-hand side, you've got a light source where the LED is non-removable. And in those circumstances, it's actually the whole lamp itself, the whole unit, which is actually going to be requiring the label. And so that would have to appear in the box in relation to that one. Now, this is a really important part of the presentation now, is the timelines which apply to the changes which are taking place. And there's a couple of different sort of categorizations of this. And for light sources that have already been placed on the market before the 1st of the 9th, 2021, the first thing is, from the 1st to the 5th this year, suppliers are required to re-register products in EPREL. That's the product database I talked about before, which QR code directs you to. And they must be re-registered under the new light sources regulation. So that includes a new rescaled label and product information sheet. From the 1st to the 9th, 21, when the new label comes into force, right the way through to the 28th of the 2nd, 23, so that's an 18-month transition period, products may be sold with the old label, those which have been placed on the market before the 1st to the 9th, 21. However, if the dealer wants to have the new label, then the supplier is obliged to provide that label on a sticker, the rescaled label, and to provide the related products information sheet as well. And then I suppose the next really important deadline for this is from the 1st to the 3rd, 23, when the old label shown on the packaging must be covered by a sticker of the same size with the new label. Products which have the old label can no longer be sold, and that's really important to emphasize. So if you happen to have some very old stock, then you really want to be getting rid of it by the 1st to the 3rd, 23, because you'll no longer be able to sell it unless the manufacturer has re-registered it on EPREL and gone through the process of making sure it complies with the light sources regulation. The second categorization is about new light sources which are placed on the market from the 1st to the 9th, 2021. So these are new ones. They haven't been placed on the market before that, and they are being placed on the market after the 1st of September this year. Again, the requirements are for the products to be registered on EPREL. Suppliers are required to provide related electronic product information sheets to dealers, and dealers can also request product information sheet in printed form. But then from the 1st to the 9th, 21 onwards, it's only the rescale label, of course, which can be displayed at that time. So new products with the rescaled labels will be in stores and online from that date. And there's also some additional requirements for online and distance selling. Something, if you're a retailer listening to this webinar, which you're probably likely to encounter, is that new products can also be placed on the market between the 1st of July this year and the 31st of August with the new label on the packaging. And that's really to allow the suppliers to get the stock to you so you're ready for it from the 1st to the 9th, 2021. But what you can't do is display those products in store, online, or in advertising until the 1st to the 9th, 2021. So that's the golden rule. The new label can only be displayed from the 1st to the 9th. There are some other requirements in relation to online sales in particular. So an online sale is where you're selling products from a website. It's defined as being where there's the ability to purchase a product from that particular site, and where the price is actually displayed. So there's the ability to purchase it. You can click through into some sort of click and buy system, generally speaking, and you can purchase that product. And the requirement there, there's two ways of achieving this. First of all, you can use the way I'm displaying here, which is the most popular method. You can use what's called a nested display in proximity to the price. So the nested display is the small arrow there with the C on it in the A to G. That opens up into the full label on a click or mouse rollover. There's a few requirements there. The arrow color needs to be the correct arrow color for the energy efficiency class of the label. The size of the C within that needs to be the same size or bigger than the font for the price. You need to have the range of energy efficiency classes shown, so that's the A to G. You can have this arrow going both ways, left or right. That only applies to rescaled labels, so non-rescaled labels don't require that. And you need to have a link to the product information sheet. Now, it's also possible to display the full energy label and product information sheet as long as they're displayed in proximity to the price. But to be honest with you, retailers find it very difficult. I think it's quite difficult given the space available on the website. The other important thing to say is that wherever you are displaying the product with the price and the ability to click through and buy, you need to have this nested display or label being displayed. So that can be on multiple product pages. It could be on an individual product page like the one being illustrated here. It could be when the product's actually put in the basket, so actually in the basket page before you've actually purchased it. There are other requirements in terms of visual advertising. So visual advertisements can be classed as things like newspaper advertisements, promotional leaflets, flyers and brochures, billboard advertisements, television advertisements, online advertising, including social media advertisements, technical promotional material, paper-based selling and telemarketing distance selling. And in all these instances, you just really need to show the rescaled label using the following pictogram, the one illustrated there with the B, and you can do it either way. Obviously, you don't need to click through onto that or anything. You just need to show that pictogram. For non-rescaled labels, so say you're trying to sell some older stock which hasn't been subjected to rescaling, then all you have to do is provide the energy class and the label range. But just to say, a good way of doing that is actually to use a pictogram of a similar nature to those ones provided there. It's just you'll be using different classes, so you'll be using A++ down to E on the side of that particular pictogram. So all of the compliance behind this regulation is monitored in some way to ensure that the benefits of the regulations are maximised. And just to note here that the energy labelling regulation for light sources and also its sister regulation relating to eco-design, the combined energy efficiency savings from those two regulations is estimated to be 42 terawatt hours per annum by 2030. So it's a huge amount of energy. So it's very important that we have compliance to help maximise those savings. It's also important from the perspective of people who are complying with the regulations that everybody complies. Otherwise, the ones who are not complying with the regulations are doing so potentially in a way which costs them less. And so they're not competing on the basis of a level playing field. So the market surveillance is undertaken really to provide a deterrent to non-compliance and also to support support compliance as well. It's important now just for me to mention the roles and responsibilities of the different organisations involved in market surveillance in Ireland. The Minister for Environment, Climate and Communications, Eamon Ryan, is actually the Market Surveillance Authority. So he has a responsibility in relation for enforcement of the regulations and for appointing authorised officers to deal with the regulations and investigations in that regard. Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland has a role in relation to organising market surveillance, and so we organise retailer and manufacturer compliance assessments of stores, of websites and of advertising. We also check on the products, and that's really important because given an energy label, say on the right-hand side here, where it's saying it's an A, well, who's to say it actually is an A? Well, what we do is we check the technical documentation of certain products. We also carry out laboratory testing in certain instances, and we make sure that those products are complying with the regulations, and that gives both retailers and consumers confidence in the energy label. SCAI also has a role in relation to consumer engagement because we have a role, I suppose, or a remit around promoting sustainable energy and energy efficiency. We also organise eco-design and tire labelling market surveillance, but I'm not going to be talking about those two aspects of our work today. So SCAI's energy labelling activities, I'm just going to give you an overview now of what we do in a typical year. We inspect 110 retail outlets typically to assess compliance with the energy labelling regulations and provide reports to the retailers to enable them to improve their compliance. We check on 75 websites per annum to assess compliance and again provide feedback to the retailers on how to improve compliance. We undertake a minimum, or we will be undertaking a minimum of 20 advertisement reviews to check compliance with the energy labelling regulation as well. And I think perhaps most importantly of all to note is that we're not trying to catch people out here really. We're really trying to support you in complying and help you in complying. So we have a major focus on developing guidance to support retailers and manufacturers, including providing one-to-one energy labelling advice for retailers and manufacturers. We also run campaigns to engage consumers relating to energy labelling. And of course, this year we're focusing on the rescaling. And just a few words about that now, so you can get an indication of what we're doing to promote that. We have almost finished on developing point of sale resources for retailers, and they'll be available very shortly, along with a video animation. We held a webinar for retailers back in March. There's actually a recording still available for that, and it lasts around 45 minutes and provides you with more general information regarding the energy labelling rescaling. We're doing advertising online, so if, for example, you happen to be close to a retail outlet, as you may be in a few weeks' time, and also if you were looking online as well, for a product which is covered by the regulations, you should get an advert popping up which will direct you to information from SCAI regarding the energy labelling rescaling changes. We've also updated our compliance guides as well, and we have 2 compliance guides currently in operation, which we've updated to take account of the new rescaling, the rescaling that's taking place. So we have a retailer's guide to online energy labelling and a retailer's guide to energy labelling in store. Just to note, if you happen to have downloaded these versions before, these documents before, you may have an older version, and we've updated it from the 1st to the 3rd 21. So please visit that website to take a look and make sure you've got the latest version. We're also very close to completion of a guide to advertising in visual advertisements, and we intend to issue that before we carry out any inspections into advertising, and we'll give retailers and manufacturers, because it applies to manufacturers as well, a chance to read through that and understand what their requirements are and get those amended in anything that they send out or anything they've got online. So I've only been able to give you a brief overview of the detail, and there is a lot of detail in relation to the energy labelling rescaling. So I would refer you to other sources such as websites. There's a really good one, label2020.eu, which has a lot of training materials on there for retailers and manufacturers, including e-learning platform there. beltsproject.eu is another EU-funded project which is primarily focused on manufacturers, but again has useful stuff. And of course, the European Trade Association Uniting Europe is a really good source of information. I have to say, in reviewing some of the information from the different sources that are available can sometimes be a little bit confusing. So I think if you're ever in doubt, you can obviously come to SCAI for advice, but also always defer to the regulations. That's a definitive source of information. And I'm just listing there the 3 pertinent regulations: 2017-1369, 2019-2015, and those both of those regulations have been updated by 2021-340. I believe there's a consolidated version of 2019-2015 which takes account of those amendments, which is available now as well. And all of those can be obtained from the European Commission's website. Another publication, I haven't included the link here because it was too long to incorporate into a slide, but the European Energy Labels Rescaling and Transition Periods, if you just pop that into a Google search, and you'll get that from the European Commission's website, and that's again a really useful piece of advice. So just in conclusion then, it's suffice to say the new energy label is a really good thing. It's going to encourage innovation from manufacturers. It will be good for retailers in terms of being able to upsell products. It will be good for consumers in terms of making it much clearer for them. And it will certainly be a really good thing in terms of producing energy efficiency savings for the environment. The new label for light sources comes into effect from the 1st of 9th, 21. So that's a really important date there. And there's the 18-month transition period for light sources, which have already been placed on the market. So the next really important date there is 28th of the 2nd, 2023, when that transition period ends. Compliance with the regulations is really important to maintain the level playing field for compliant economic operators and to maximise the energy savings I've talked about. And please come to SEI for guidance and advice on compliance. You know, we really are very happy to help, and we'll provide you with whatever help you need to help you comply with the regulations. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you found that useful. If you'd like any further advice, my contact details are on the final closing slide here. And of course, you can visit SEI's website, www.sai.ie, and go to the energy labelling pages for further advice. Thank you very much.
Tim, thank you, and thanks to everybody at the SEAI. Eco-design rules are mandatory for almost all lamps sold in the EU. From the 1st of September this year, the existing rules will be repealed and replaced to include circular economy requirements. To tell us a little bit more about this, I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth O'Reilly, who's the Environmental Compliance and Membership Manager for We Ireland. Elizabeth?
My name is Elizabeth O'Reilly and I'm the Compliance and Membership Manager for We Ireland. And I'm delighted to be here talking about lighting and the circular economy. It's a topic that we are paying particularly attention to. We have looked carefully at the wording and the content of the Waste Action Plan for a Circular Economy and note the significant role extended producer responsibility schemes like ourselves will play on delivering the aims and ambition of that policy. And indeed, many of the legislative requirements that come from the Waste Framework Directive relating to the circular economy are ones that will require us to work closely with our members in delivering. Our current strategy, which is about best-in-class compliance and cost-effectiveness for members and consumers in providing waste electrical take-back and recycling services on behalf of the industry, also now recognises the importance of this future focus. The growing nature of e-waste, or WE, means that it is a significant challenge, one that we work with our European colleagues in the WE Forum and our global contact partners. E-waste is recognised as one of the fastest growing waste streams, and because of the valuable materials it contains and also potentially hazardous components, it's one that can't be ignored. Thankfully in Ireland we've had since 2005 to put in a best-in-class and best recognised WE and battery recycling system, and we do that on behalf of our 1,200 industry members. We're delighted to work on their behalf, and companies like Solas, who've been with us since the start, have driven a national take-back system for waste lighting. That means that when your fluorescent tube goes in your old luminaire, or the light bulb in your office or in your home, when your bedside lamp, or you're retrofitting an entire office block with new LED modules, you can dispose of the old ones safely and free of charge through many ways. We have a collection of take-back points at hardware stores, at electrical wholesalers, and pre-2020 we had collection events out almost every weekend around Ireland, and we hope to be able to deliver them soon. We also work with the local authorities through their network of recycling collection civic amenity sites. You can see all of that on the We Ireland website, and hopefully it means that there is a lighting collection point near you. I really hope as well everybody in the industry is listening is already involved in the programme, and anybody who isn't can of course contact us for more details. In 2019, which is probably the last normal year of activity we have on record, we recycled over 3.2 million light bulbs, mainly focusing on fluorescent lamps and compact fluorescent lamps. We also collected about 16 million pieces of what we call mixed WEEE. So not large household appliances, not TV screens, and not lamps. What's left is mixed WEEE, and that represents a huge volume of luminaires. The 38,000 tonnes in total of electrical waste that we collected in 2019 was diverted from landfill and was recovered, with over 85% of the materials taken back for use in manufacturing again. What many people don't know is that that activity happened here in Ireland. But thanks to Irish Lamps Recycling and K&K Metals Recycling, the Midlands really is the heart of our recycling programme in Ireland. And those companies, they're family run, but they have worked to attain the highest quality recycling standards, working under the EN 50625 series to ensure best practice and the best results from the e-waste. So it really is a resource opportunity that we're able to manage those lighting products at the end of life. Also recognizing that the importance of eco-design and the new focus on circular economy further up the waste hierarchy, we're really looking forward to working with members on their own initiatives, and very much the Solas Planet First initiative is stellar in this regard. We want to be able to incentivize more programs like that with our members, and we really look forward to engaging and working more on their behalf as well. Certainly collaboration is something that the WEEE system in Ireland has been commended for, and the Commission has singled it out as a case study for best practice in a small country, which is something that we're all very proud of. And it's due to the collaboration between not only the industry, the producers placing the products on the market, but the distributors and the retailers who work on the take-back solutions with us, and also the strong regulatory framework and the guidance and enforcement that the EPA and local authorities offer as well. I think that's where the consultation currently with circular economy is going to do well, on the collaboration and the input from all sectors. And we're very happy to be engaging on behalf of our members, and indeed encouraging the individual members to come back with their notes and details for us in the coming weeks and months. Building awareness, not just of circular economy and the wider themes that we want to all collectively achieve towards a more sustainable future, is difficult. But what we have very much focused on in the WEEE and battery take-back system is how individual actions can make a difference. So our current campaign, which I hope you can hear on radio and social media near you, is a tongue-in-cheek program about binning is sinning. And really what we're just saying is, please don't put those small items, the batteries, the bent and blown light bulbs, with small electrical equipment. It might be easy to put it in the bin, but it's not the best thing to do. And there's a host of free recycling options that you can utilize instead. So please, don't sin, don't put it in the bin, please recycle, is what we're asking people to do at the moment. And that's building on our Small Things Matter campaign for the last few years again, which highlights environmental problems can seem very big, but small actions can make a difference, and that the solutions are here. We're also delighted to be working with the Association of Electrical Wholesalers on behalf of all of our producer members to engage further in their network. And as we all hope and look towards a more green recovery and restrictions are lifted, as building sites and refurbishment and retrofitting programs ramp up again, working with those wholesalers as hubs and collection points for material is really important to us. You can access a range of recycling infrastructure through the We Ireland scheme. If you need coffins, if you need containers, if you need battery barrels, they're all available. We have resources page, we have collection points, code of guidance, code of best practice. We have collection point, code of best practice, and a range of guidance materials on our website. And we can also deliver out collection point infrastructure, take back barrels, coffins and containers for lamp, battery and WEEE recycling. All of it is there. And again, it's funded by the producers of our system that have set up this take back programme. That's what's driving results. And this year we want to be able to collect and recycle more than ever and really double up on activity for the second half of this year. We're also loving the innovation that we're seeing out there in the lighting marketplace, not least what's been discussed today with new energy labelling and more energy efficient options for both the consumer and commercial sector. But we're also seeing new models of light as a service, repair, modularity, all coming down the line. And our challenge as a WE scheme is now to move to incentivise our members to report that activity and see how we can build more circular metrics into our programme. So improving our collection recycling is a key aim, but moving beyond that further up the waste hierarchy is something that we are hell-bent on over the next few years.
Elizabeth, thank you so much. Congratulations to We Ireland and their members on that incredible figure. 38,000 tonnes of electrical waste taken back from landfill for use again in manufacturing. Finally today, I'm joined here in studio by the Sales and Marketing Representative for Solas, Helen O'Dwyer. Helen, you're very welcome. Helen represents Solas, who have launched this awareness and information campaign on these mandatory new European Commission regulations. It's lovely to see you. Helen, this change in regulation is something you actually welcome.
Absolutely, Jonathan. This new legislation will really highlight the best quality products on the market and show who's best in class. Like over the last 5 years, Solas has changed more than any other lighting company. We've rolled out a number of customer experience improvements and a strong brand refresh. And we've also really evolved our packaging look and feel. We've streamlined our formats, making the packs 100% recyclable. We've introduced a strong colour coding system, bringing back our iconic checkerboard pattern and making the pack work harder for customers.
I love the return of the checkerboard pattern because that just screams Solas to me. What does the legislation mean for you?
Look, well, the old energy label led to quite a lot of confusion, Jonathan, especially in our sector, because most products were falling up there in the A+ and A++ categories. And like you see, the lighting technology is just moving so fast. When LEDs first came on the market a decade ago, the output was maybe 5,000 to 8,000 hours with a price tag of maybe €15 per bulb. Now you're looking at 15,000 hours of output using 88% less energy, and prices have come right down to about €5 for the consumer. So this legislation will drive further innovation within our industry, and this is a space where Solas really excels.
And as we've been hearing, it's all about looking after the environment as well as everything else. Tell us a little bit about the Solas Planet First Sustainability Programme.
Well, sustainability is a key theme for us here at Solas. So we've launched a key initiative and a promise to ourselves and our customers, which we call Planet First. So this means we always consider the environmental impact of everything we make and do. So what does that look like? Well, our new packaging, as I said, it's 100% recyclable now. We were the first lighting company to show how to recycle and pack. Our new fleet of energy efficient vans minimise our emissions, and our TUV certified emission calculation ensures that we deliver green logistics. So our bulbs are the most energy efficient LEDs on the market. We have a paperless office, and we were the first to roll out filament LED in Ireland. We've given away 200,000 eco-friendly shopping bags. So you see these yellow bags, Jonathan.
That is not a shopping bag.
So we also have ambitious plans for low energy light bulb design, which will keep us ahead in the race for energy efficiency and gets us back up to the top of that energy label again.
And most importantly, of course, Solas is an Irish company. In the last 12 months, we've heard how important it is to continue supporting Irish companies, but you guys have to remain competitive as well, don't you?
Absolutely, like we're market leader, but competition is healthy. It drives us to constantly find the best technology. It's why we've invested over €1 million into the brand, and it's why we've the best in-store displays, and it's why we're leading the conversation around sustainability and why we welcome the new EU legislation. We also designed and developed in Ireland, all designed, manufactured here in Ireland, our Solas lighting centres. So this is a first for lighting across Europe. We found that people were often a bit overwhelmed by the complexity of choice. So you have the fitting and the wattage and the product type, the energy benefits, and then you have to consider the shapes, and you have the round and the candle and the reflector, and so there's a lot. So our displays are now predicting and answering customers' question at the display. So for most customers, people like to trial a product. So before they make an actual purchase. So with these innovative new Solas lighting centres, they allow customers to press a button to try me and see exactly what the bulb looks like in the shop. So that's working really, really well for us. And innovation is key for us, you know, from our Solas Energy Labs, our Invention Hub, our ongoing research. We know how vital it is to find the most sustainable ways to light up our homes and workplaces. So we're committed to this challenge and we want to continue to be the leading light.
Well, as a consumer, I very much welcome the lighting up. I can't wait to get in there and try it out, because that's really frustrating sometimes when you're looking at all that selection and you can't try it until you get home. If you have any questions after anything you've heard on today's event, you can email Helen. Her email address is helen.o'dwyer@solas.ie. Helen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And more importantly, thank you for watching.